I don't know. I know we might sound like crazy wingnuts railing against the erosion of privacy, but you really should be careful. It's fine to be performative on social media. It's fine to only post the good things or the funny memes or whatever, but be very careful about what can be read from those because you may be saying more than you think. History is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
Good morning, guys. I've been a long-term listener, and I was hoping to contribute, and here's my chance. I work in cybersecurity for an unnamed organization, and part of our organization is focused on the insider threat, meaning an employee who is willing to sell company intellectual property for their own personal gains. A simple example of IP loss would be the Colonel's 11 secret herbs or the recipe for Coca-Cola, both of which we know are highly protected, right? In your episode, you guys focused on knowing what an employee is doing during their workday. This part of the organization, the one that he's talking about, is focused on what you're doing while you're not working. Ew.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to continue with it, Ben?
Of course. This is the deeper water. Steve says, looking at openly available data on your social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, this group identifies your personal connections and analyzes things such as business trips, personal trips out of the country, required if you're working on some government programs, and then monitors data transfers, things you're printing out, etc., to identify instances outside of your normal behavior. Very much Big Brother, but companies have had real instances of employees selling company IP, intellectual property, for personal gain, sometimes not personal gain, but blackmail by foreign hackers who threaten to expose compromising photos, etc.
Companies like the one I work at have had real-world examples of this loss to foreign nations, including China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, etc., and is a real thing. Things people should do is change the visibility of all your personal social Meeds accounts, keep your company from looking, but also the foreign nationals who might be trying to learn about you and exploit you. I wanted to share with your listeners some things your employer doesn't want you to know.
Thank you, Steve. This is something that I think hopefully hits home with a lot of our fellow listeners today. Matt, first impressions.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, of course, to everything in here.
Right.
I mean, it's so funny. I don't want to make this about me, Ben, but I choose to not be super engaged in social media for this reason. Not for an employee, but for closer to that last paragraph in Steve's email, where anybody that wishes to have anything on you, right? Any kind of leverage, any kind of just personal information on you or someone that you're an acquaintance with or even a very good friend with, they can use your social media in so many ways. Especially photographs and videos, which have become the most popular social media out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And you know my long-standing idea on the... I want to be careful how I say this. On the push to make short-form, unresearched media the dominant little consumption piece of the day, right? I feel like I can be sometimes called a Luddite for those concerns, but I share them. You know, the issue there is that a small piece of video that is catchy is something that is very easy to say yes to. And especially now, many people want to be Promethean. They want to be bringers of the fire, of the knowledge, right? And if you are incentivized such that you feel you are socially more important if you are the first person bringing the thing, then you are in some ways disincentivized to figure out whether or not that is real or it is true. And this is dangerous. First off, nobody really loves a know-it-all, right? There should be more appreciation of being open to learning, and that's a problem the human species has had since the days in the savannah, right? The issues are the same, but I would say with this, I'm waxing a little bit too philosophical, so let's make it practical, right? Let's talk about short-term, future, present moment, things that matter to you if you're listening. You must reasonably assume that any tool at your employer's disposal to monitor you legally will be used or could reasonably be used. That doesn't mean that the employer in question is necessarily malevolent. It means that they are not stupid. Because, think about it, if you had that level of potential visibility, especially if you're working with hundreds of millions of dollars of stuff, or if people's lives are potentially at stake, then you have to do it. Otherwise, you're the person who was asleep at the wheel when something went wrong. And I can tell you, honestly, people get compromised over things that seem pretty small, to outside observers, but are very big in their personal lives. People aren't waking up and saying, man, I can't wait to sell the plans for this new nuclear component. I can't wait to sell that for like $25,000. Or forget it, $23,000. It's not about the money for me. It's about the fun. People don't think that way, most of them. What they're going to do is get compromised. And that's why, that to me, that's a dangerous wrinkle about the prevalence of social media. The expectation that one should have it, the normalization of having a constant surveillance device like a phone on your person at all times. This, the West at least, is in a situation where it now becomes suspicious not to have some sort of social media, and I don't think that's fair, because there are a lot of people who just recognize the addictive nature of the dopamine rush, which is calculated, or serotonin, and any number of feedback loops that are created. I don't know. I know we might sound like crazy wingnuts railing against the erosion of privacy, but you really should be careful. It's fine to be performative on social media. It's fine to only post the good things or the funny memes or whatever, but be very careful about what can be read from those, because you may be saying more than you think.
There you go. And don't get compromised.
Yeah, don't get compromised. Right. Don't let Big Rodent get you. Also, it's weird because there are so many people nowadays who don't have that basic hygiene, right? Don't have the basic understanding that if you work for Conglomcore or whatever, and then you go on TikTok and you say, hey, I work for Conglomcore. Here are 8 terrible things that I know, and I've proven them. And I could have taken these to court and had a meaningful change in their behavior, but instead I wanted attention on some ephemeral social media platform. You're going to be fired, and you could try to go to court, but they'll get you.
I just don't know what else to add. Just bleh.
No, yeah. All to say, Matt is right.